Welcome back, coin collectors, treasure hunters, and rare currency enthusiasts to another thrilling deep dive where we uncover the incredible stories hidden in plain sight inside your pocket change. And today, we are focusing on a piece of American currency that might just blow your mind with its rarity, peculiar errors, and astonishing collector value. A 1997 quarter dollar that's been known to fetch up to $686 due to some highly unique and unexpected minting mistakes. So buckle in as we take you through every possible reason why this specific coin could turn your everyday spare change into a small fortune. And it all begins with understanding the significance of the 1997 quarter, a standard coin at first glance, minted in Philadelphia as indicated by the P mint mark. Produced during the later years of the Washington Quarter series that ran from 1932 to 1998 before transitioning into the popular 50-state quarters program. And while the 1997 P was not a low-mintage coin, it was produced in the hundreds of millions. Its value spikes when we talk about rare errors, mechanical flaws, and die varieties that can elevate an otherwise ordinary coin into a prized numismatic treasure. So let's explore exactly how such an affordable denomination can skyrocket in value when specific and desirable imperfections are discovered by savvy collectors and grading professionals. Beginning with one of the most common but lucrative errors known as a double die, where during the hubbing process of the coin die, a misalignment results in the doubling of design elements such as the motto, "In God We Trust," the word, "Liberty," or the date, 1997. And these double dies can vary in intensity, some being subtle and only visible under magnification while others are dramatic enough to be spotted by the naked eye, instantly commanding premium prices in the coin market. And a double die obverse, especially on a coin from a modern era like 1997, is considered highly collectible because the U.S. Mint had already implemented tighter quality control measures by that time, making such mistakes far less common and therefore more sought after. And another particularly interesting and rare mistake involves off-center strikes, where the coin is not properly seated in the coin press, leading to a portion of the design missing. And these can range from slight misalignments of 5% to dramatic errors of 50% or more, with values increasing the more dramatic the misalignment. And a 1997 quarter with a 15% or more off-center strike with full visible date and mint mark could easily fetch over $500 from the right collector who appreciates the rarity and visual uniqueness of such an error. And then we must consider the phenomenon of clipped planchets, which occur when the metal blank punched from the coin strip overlaps with a previously punched hole, leaving a curved clip on the edge of the coin. And while these are not unique to 1997 quarters, when found on this year-end mint mark, they can still command high premiums, especially if the clip is dramatic and retains full design features elsewhere on the coin. Another error that could increase the value is known as a broad strike error, which happens when the collar that holds the coin in place during striking malfunctions, allowing the metal to expand outward and resulting in a wider, flatter appearance without the usual reeded edge. And these broad-struck coins, though often underappreciated by novice collectors, are highly prized by specialists, especially when the error is clean, well-centered, and preserves the essential date and mint mark data. And yet another extremely collectible mistake is a struck-through error, where foreign materials such as grease, cloth fibers, or even small bits of metal become lodged on the die or planchet during the striking process, leaving unique impressions or blank spots on the coin's design, making each struck-through coin essentially one of a kind. And one notable 1997 quarter was discovered with a severe struck-through grease error that completely obliterated the face of Washington, leaving only a ghostly silhouette which amazed collectors and fetched several $100s in auction. And this leads us to the highly elusive wrong planchet error, a mistake where a coin is struck on a planchet intended for another denomination entirely. And though exceedingly rare, there have been reports of 1997 quarters struck on dime or nickel planchets, resulting in undersized, lightweight coins with incomplete designs due to the smaller metal surface, and these wrong planchet errors often make headlines when authenticated by top grading services such as PCGS or NGC, and can bring in four-figure sums at auctions depending on condition and clarity. And we must also not overlook die cracks and cuds, both forms of die damage that manifest on the coin as raised lines or blobs of metal where the die is broken or chipped. And although minor die cracks are fairly common and not always valuable, significant cracks, especially ones that cross Washington's portrait or the reverse eagle motif, dramatically increase the coin's value, with larger and more dramatic cuds being especially prized for their rarity and eye appeal. And then there's the fascinating case of misaligned dies, where the obverse and reverse dies are not properly aligned, leading to a coin that has a visible shift when flipped. And this causes a sort of ghosting or shadowing of the design elements, and sometimes even a crescent-shaped rim on one side of the coin. And such examples from the 1997 Philadelphia Mint run can become incredibly desirable among specialists of modern-era coins. And the intrigue doesn't stop there, because the coin surface condition also plays a huge role, as coins with high levels of luster, clean surfaces, and sharp strikes can receive mint state grades by professional services. And when these high grades are combined with mint errors, the value multiplies significantly. So a 1997 P quarter with a major off-center strike, double die obverse, and a mint state 65 grade could easily reach or surpass the $686 price tag or more, particularly if sold at auction, where competition among error collectors intensifies the bidding. And let's not ignore the coin roll hunters and pocket change searchers, who tirelessly comb through thousands of coins from banks or circulation, hoping to uncover just one of these elusive 1997 P error quarters. And stories of success continue to pour in, where sharp-eyed individuals find a small fortune hidden in their daily transactions, and this alone has contributed to an explosion of interest in modern mint errors as a niche within numismatics that's growing rapidly thanks to internet forums, social media groups, and YouTube communities like this one, where shared discoveries, side-by-side photos, grading tips, and pricing guides help new collectors navigate this exciting world. And another reason this particular year and mint mark has garnered attention is due to a subtle but collectible die variety known as a repunched mint mark, RPM, where the P was punched more than once into the die and slightly offset, causing a doubled appearance. And while RPMs are more common in older coins before the use of single-squeeze hubbing technology, some late-stage varieties can still exhibit this feature and become highly valued by the right collector, especially when the doubling is clear and not due to die deterioration. And all these possible factors, double dies, off-center strikes, broad strikes, die breaks, struck-through errors, wrong planchets, repunched mint marks, misaligned dies, clipped planchets, and superior grading, converge to create an entire universe of possibility in a single 1997 P quarter-dollar coin that most people wouldn't give a second glance. But to the trained eye, it represents a rare window into the mechanical fallibility and human oversight of the minting process, which ironically is exactly what makes such coins more valuable and captivating than their perfectly struck counterparts. And when collectors chase down specific combinations of errors or search for patterns in known varieties, the hunt itself becomes as thrilling as the find, with each discovery reaffirming the idea that numismatics is as much about history, rarity, and curiosity as it is about profit. And if you happen to find one of these 1997 P quarters that exhibits any of the aforementioned errors, be it a dramatic off-center strike, an unmistakable double die, a broad struck profile, a ghosted struck-through design, or even a subtle die crack, it is crucial to have the coin authenticated and graded by a professional third-party service to determine its condition. Next, 1989 P quarter-dollar coin. Today, we're turning our focus on a remarkable coin that has stunned collectors and enthusiasts alike, the 1989 Washington quarter dollar, which might appear to be just another coin from the late 20th century, but in truth, it carries with it the possibility of containing rare and valuable errors and minting anomalies that can command prices as high as $436 or more depending on the condition, rarity, and uniqueness of the mistake present. And this very coin, minted in Philadelphia as indicated by the P mint mark, is one of those remarkable examples of how a small deviation in the minting process can result in a major payoff for collectors with a keen eye and a deep appreciation for detail. And to understand why this coin could fetch such a premium, we have to start by looking at the broader context of the 1989 Washington quarter production, a year that saw hundreds of millions of these coins struck at the Philadelphia Mint, making it common in circulation. But despite this high mintage, a small percentage of these coins left the mint with minting errors, misalignments, and other mechanical issues that created scarcity in a very specific way, and it's this rarity among the masses that has pushed certain 1989 quarters to valuations well above their face value, beginning with one of the most widely recognized and desired types of mint errors known as the double die error, where the hub that impresses the coin design onto the die does so in a slightly offset or misaligned manner, creating a doubling effect on key design features such as the inscriptions, "In God We Trust, Liberty," or the date itself. And this doubling, especially if prominent and easily visible to the naked eye, increases collector interest exponentially, particularly in an era where quality control had tightened and such dramatic doubling errors were becoming less common, meaning a strong double die on a 1989 quarter is not only rare, but also highly valued for its dramatic aesthetic and the difficulty in locating another specimen with a similar intensity. And another valuable mistake that collectors seek is the off-center strike, a mechanical error that occurs when the coin blank, also called the planchet, is not properly centered in the striking chamber during minting, causing part of the design to be struck off the edge and leaving a crescent-shaped blank area. And while minor off-center errors are relatively common and fetch modest premiums, coins struck 15% to 30% off-center with full or nearly full visibility of the date and mint mark are far rarer and can command impressive sums, especially if the error is clean, the coin is in high grade, and the visual appeal is strong. And then there are broad strike errors which occur when the collar that holds the coin in place during the strike is either missing or malfunctions, allowing the planchet to expand outwards, resulting in a flatter, wider coin without a reeded edge. And when these coins also retain a strong central strike and minimal wear, they too are highly collectible, and this is especially true for a 1989 quarter which when found broad-struck and in mint state condition becomes an uncommon and intriguing find worth hundreds to the right collector. And next up is one of the most visually stunning and individually unique error types, the struck-through error, where foreign materials such as grease, wire, or fragments of cloth interfere with the striking process and leave ghostly or abstract impressions on the coin's surface. And one of the known examples from 1989 includes a quarter with Washington's profile obscured by a heavy grease strike-through which makes the obverse look blank or washed out. And when authenticated, coins like these easily attract multiple bidders at auction due to their one-of-a-kind appearance. And we can't ignore the die break and cut errors, both of which involve the physical degradation of the coin die itself, and a die crack manifests as a thin raised line across the coin where the die is fractured, while a cut occurs when a piece of the die falls away completely, leaving a blob-like raised area on the coin where design elements are missing, and dramatic cuts, especially those covering part of Washington's head, the lettering, or the eagle on the reverse, are hotly pursued by error coin collectors, and can fetch impressive premiums depending on size and location of the cut. And another key error that boosts the value of 1989 quarters is the misaligned die strike, which occurs when the obverse and reverse dies are not properly aligned, leading to one side being offset compared to the other, and although common in minor degrees, More significant misalignments result in visible shifts in design placement and edge distortion, which are of particular interest to those specializing in minting irregularities. And perhaps one of the most valuable and least expected errors is the wrong planchet error, which is when a quarter is mistakenly struck on a planchet intended for a different denomination, such as a nickel, dime, or even a foreign coin blank, and these coins usually weigh incorrectly and display incomplete designs due to the size mismatch. And in one reported instance, a 1989 p quarter was found struck on a planchet intended for a 5-cent coin, creating an undersized, lightweight, and incredibly rare hybrid error that immediately caught the attention of grading services and auction houses alike. And yet another possibility includes coins with repunched mint marks, or RPMs, which are a result of the mint mark being punched more than once onto the die in slightly different positions, causing a shadowed or doubled appearance on the letter P. And while this type of error became less common after the mint adopted the single squeeze hubbing process, earlier RPMs, like those from 1989, are still discoverable and collectible, particularly when the doubling is clear and well-defined. And then there are coins with partial collars, where only part of the collar device engaged during striking, producing coins that appear normal on one side and slightly expanded or distorted on the other, another type of mechanical imperfection that has a devoted following among error coin specialists. And as we explore these error types, it's crucial to remember that their market value is influenced not only by the rarity and severity of the error, but also by the coin's overall condition, as coins graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC in higher mint state grades, typically MS63 and above, tend to command significantly higher premiums. And for a 1989 p quarter with any of the above errors in mint state 65 condition or higher, values can easily exceed $436 depending on error type, demand, and eye appeal. And all of these factors combined, die errors, planchet anomalies, striking mishaps, and grading potential, transform the 1989 p quarter from an everyday object into a canvas of minting history and human error. And this is what fuels the excitement of collectors, roll hunters, and numismatic researchers who are constantly scouring bank rolls, estate sales, change jars, and flea markets for these elusive examples. And stories of successful finds keep motivating new collectors to begin their journey, such as one where a hobbyist in Florida discovered a 1989 p quarter with a dramatic 30% off center strike in pocket change, and had it authenticated and sold for over $400 on an online auction, or the numismatist who located a broad-struck 1989 p quarter in an unsearched roll that later received an MS64 grade and sold for $385 to a dedicated error coin collector. And such success stories are becoming more common as knowledge about these mint errors becomes more accessible through online forums, YouTube communities, social media groups, and auction sites where visual documentation, grading standards, and price comparisons help even novice collectors evaluate their coins accurately. And the increased transparency and availability of educational resources in the modern era have played a huge role in popularizing coin errors from the 1980s and 1990s, which were previously overlooked by mainstream collectors who preferred older or key date coins, but now understand that rare and dramatic errors can elevate even common year coins into major collectibles. And the 1989 p quarter is the perfect example of this growing trend, an otherwise unassuming coin that, when struck with a rare minting error, becomes a tangible artifact of U.S. minting history and a potential source of profit for those who recognize its value. Next, 1983 p quarter dollar coin. A coin minted in Philadelphia that has sparked unexpected excitement in the numismatic community due to a range of rare and fascinating errors and production mishaps that have led certain examples to sell for as much as $60 or even more in some cases, depending on the type and severity of the mistake. the condition of the coin, and the ongoing demand among collectors for unique and flawed versions of this unassuming yet historically significant piece of American currency. And what makes the 1983 P quarter particularly intriguing is the fact that this year stands out in U.S. minting history for a number of reasons, notably because there were no official U.S. mint sets produced that year due to federal budget cuts, meaning collectors today must rely on circulation strikes to find examples of 1,983 coins in top condition, which is a challenge in itself since most of these quarters entered circulation immediately and saw extensive use, making high-grade examples rare and desirable. And when you factor in minting errors, which already add a premium to any coin, the appeal of the 1983 P quarter increases exponentially, drawing interest from experienced numismatists and casual collectors alike. And among the most valuable and commonly sought-after errors on this coin is the doubled die variety, where the coin's die has been misaligned or impressed more than once in the same area during the hubbing process, leading to visible doubling on key features like the word Liberty, the phrase "In God We Trust," or the date itself. And although not all double die examples are obvious without magnification, some are dramatic enough to be recognized by the naked eye, and when found in conjunction with other factors such as high grade or full strike, they can command much higher prices than their normal counterparts. And another popular and profitable error on 1983 P quarters is the off-center strike, which occurs when the coin blank or planchet is misaligned with the dies during the striking process, resulting in part of the design missing and a crescent-shaped blank area where no strike occurred. And off-center errors range in severity, with those between 10% and 25% off-center being particularly collectible, especially when the date and mint mark are still visible, as that allows the coin to be properly identified and authenticated by grading services like PCGS or NGC. And then we must talk about broad strike errors, which occur when the collar, a component that shapes the coin's edge during striking, is missing or improperly positioned, causing the coin to expand beyond its intended diameter and resulting in a wider, flatter appearance with no reeded edge. And broad strike errors on 1983 P quarters are not especially common, which adds to their value and desirability, especially when the coin is in high grade and the error is dramatic and clean. And perhaps one of the most interesting and visually striking errors seen on these coins is the struck-through error, which happens when a foreign object like a piece of cloth, wire, or even excess grease is present between the die and planchet at the moment of striking, leading to a ghosted or textured area on the coin where design details are missing or distorted. And depending on the severity and the location of the strike-through, these coins can become highly valuable to collectors, particularly when the object that caused the strike-through left a recognizable impression or when the error creates a surreal or artistic appearance. And another category of errors includes die breaks and cuds, both of which stem from physical deterioration of the coin dies. And a cut occurs when a portion of the die breaks away completely, leaving a raised blob of metal on the struck coin where part of the design should be. And when these cuds are large or located in prominent areas, like Washington's portrait or the eagle's wings, they generate strong collector interest, while die cracks, which appear as thin raised lines on the coin's surface, also attract attention when they are long, branch-like, or intersect with important design elements. And still another type of error that enhances the appeal of 1983 P quarters is the misaligned die strike, which occurs when the obverse and reverse dies are not properly centered, causing one side of the coin to appear off-kilter relative to the other. And while minor misalignments are somewhat common, more severe examples where the design is visibly off-center or causes a tilt in the rim garner significant attention from error collectors. And then we get into wrong planchet errors, which are among the rarest and most valuable types of mint mistakes and occur when a coin is struck on a blank intended for a different denomination, such as a dime or a foreign coin, resulting in a piece that may weigh less than normal and display only a partial design due to size mismatches. and examples of 1983 p quarters struck on nickel or dime. Planchets are extremely rare and can sell for hundreds or even thousands depending on how clearly the error can be identified and authenticated. And on top of all these physical error types, there are additional aspects of the 1983 p quarter that elevate its value, particularly the poor quality of many circulation strikes from that year, as the U.S. Mint was under increased pressure to meet production goals without the quality control resources of earlier years, leading to coins with weak strikes, blurry details, and planchet imperfections even before errors are considered. And so when a well-struck example is found with a dramatic error and minimal wear, it becomes an even more important numismatic artifact, and the fact that no mint sets were released in 1983 means that most high-grade 1983 p quarters come from original bank rolls, private holdings, or lucky circulation finds, all of which are becoming increasingly rare as collectors snap up these coins and submit them for grading and encapsulation, and notable auctions have demonstrated this trend, with multiple 1983 p quarter error coins realizing $60 or more in public or online sales, including examples with dramatic off-center strikes, heavy die breaks, and well-centered broad strikes in mint state condition, and collectors also seek repunched mint marks or RPMs, which occur when the mint mark is hand-punched more than once in slightly different positions, causing a shadowed or doubled appearance. And while most p-mint coins of this era used a standard mint mark position, RPM errors are still found occasionally and are particularly popular among specialists, and coins with partial collars, another striking error, show a flattened or distorted edge on one side while maintaining a normal appearance on the other, adding to the intrigue and value of these error specimens. And it's also worth noting that many 1983 p quarters show planchet flaws such as laminations, where the metal surface peels or flakes due to impurities in the alloy, and when this happens in visually striking ways, especially near design elements, it becomes another collectible variant of the coin, and the weight of the 1983 p quarter should be 5.67 grams. And coins with significant deviation from this standard due to being struck on the wrong planchet or because of metal loss due to errors become targets for closer inspection and possibly third-party grading, and grading plays a massive role in determining the value of any 1983 p quarter, as coins with errors in uncirculated condition, particularly MS63 and above, sell for significantly more than worn examples, and coins in AU or XF condition with bold errors can still attract strong demand but typically sell for less unless the error is particularly rare or dramatic. And in recent years, coin hunters have reported finding valuable 1983 p quarters with off-center errors, dramatic cuts, and broad strikes in change and rolls sourced from banks or estate sales, further motivating new collectors to examine their coins more closely. And educational resources like error coin guides, online grading service databases, and auction archives continue to help people identify these rare coins and understand their value in the broader numismatic marketplace. And the popularity of error coins is not slowing down as more people enter the hobby with fresh enthusiasm, and the internet makes it easier than ever to research, buy, sell, and learn. And in the case of the 1983 p quarter, its combination of historical significance due to the absence of mint sets, production pressure at the mint, and the broad array of potential errors make it a fascinating coin to collect and study. Last 1987 BD $quarter coin. Today we dive deep into another fascinating story hidden within America's circulating coinage as we explore the 1987 D $quarter. A seemingly ordinary coin minted in Denver that under the right circumstances, and because of a variety of minting mistakes and error possibilities can be worth as much as $50 or more, especially when discovered in uncirculated condition or combined with rare and highly desirable error types that make it a treasure for collectors, hobbyists, and investors alike, who are always on the hunt for coins that stand out due to imperfections that occurred during the minting process. And while a 1987 quarter dollar might not initially look like anything more than pocket change, the truth is that these coins hold the potential to carry exceptional value because of the various production errors that were known to occur during the mid-1980s at the U.S. Mint, which was focused on high-volume output and occasionally saw mistakes slip through quality control. Measures resulting in coins that today are considered scarce anomalies by error collectors. And as we dig into the specific types of errors and mishaps that elevate the 1987 quarter's value from 25 cents to $50 or more, we begin by understanding that Denver minted coins from this era were struck in huge numbers to meet the needs of commerce. And while most of these coins functioned as intended in day-to-day transactions, a select few contained physical flaws created by either mechanical or human error, and these flaws can include off-center strikes, where the blank planchet was not properly aligned in the coin chamber, and as a result part of the design is missing and a blank crescent of metal is visible, and depending on how far off-center the strike is, and whether the date and mint mark remain visible, the value of the coin can rise significantly. With perfect off-center errors, with over 50% blank areas being especially valuable and sought after. And next, we explore the phenomenon of broad strikes, which happen when the collar die, a crucial component that holds the planchet in place and imparts the edge reading, is missing or misaligned during the strike, causing the metal to spread outwards beyond its intended diameter and leading to a coin with a smooth edge and distorted shape that is easily distinguishable from a regular issue. And when such broad strike errors appear on 1987 quarters in high grade, they often attract strong interest from collectors because they demonstrate a dramatic and visually striking minting failure, especially when the entire design is visible and well-defined despite the error. And we also have to consider die breaks and cuds, which are another important class of errors that can significantly enhance the appeal and value of any coin. And these occur when the coin die, the hardened metal tool used to strike the coin, cracks or breaks during use, leading to raised areas on the coin surface where the metal has filled the void in the damaged die. And a cud is a particularly desirable form of die break in which a portion of the die completely falls off, leaving a large blob or raised area on the rim or field of the coin, disrupting the intended design and providing collectors with a unique and usually one-of-a-kind example of minting malfunction. And on the 1987 quarter, cuds have been reported on various parts of the obverse and reverse, including on Washington's portrait, around the letters of Liberty, and near the eagle's wings or tail feathers. And when these cuds are large, well-formed, and located near recognizable parts of the design, they become particularly collectible and can push the value of the coin upwards toward the $50 mark depending on condition and market demand. And then there are strike-through errors, which occur when a foreign object or material, such as a piece of string, cloth, grease, or even another coin fragment, is present on the die or planchet at the time of striking, leading to part of the coin's design being obscured, ghosted, or altered in unusual and unpredictable ways. And such coins are often viewed as miniature works of accidental art, especially when the strike-through is dramatic or causes unusual patterns or voids in the coin's appearance. And examples of 1987 quarters with grease-filled dies or other strike-through materials have been known to turn up in circulation and auctions, where their uniqueness is quickly recognized and valued by collectors eager to add something unusual to their holdings. And we also have to talk about doubled dies, which are perhaps the most well-known and highly sought-after type of minting error, caused when the die itself is impressed with the design more than once in a misaligned fashion during the hubbing process, resulting in doubling that is visible on the coin's raised elements such as the date, lettering, or key design features like Washington's profile or the eagle's wings. And while doubled die errors on 1987 quarters are not as common as in some earlier or later years, they do exist and can be incredibly valuable when the doubling is strong and visible to the naked eye, and even minor or machine doubling variants can still attract interest from collectors who specialize in the DDO and DDR categories, doubled die obverse and doubled die reverse. And these coins often achieve premiums in the $30 to $50 range or higher when certified by a reputable grading service like PCGS or NGC, especially in uncirculated condition. And speaking of grading, it's important to remember that condition is everything in numismatics, and coins with mint errors that are also well preserved can command significant premiums over their more worn counterparts. So a 1987 D quarter with an off-center strike or broad strike that also grades MS63 or better can easily reach or exceed the $50 mark because of the combined rarity of the error and the scarcity of high-grade examples from this particular year in mint, and the absence of certain mint sets in collector channels during the late 1980s means that many of these coins saw significant circulation before collectors began setting them aside, which further limits the number of pristine error coins that exist today, and that brings us to the importance of planchet errors, another category that can enhance the value of the 1987 D quarter, and these include wrong planchet strikes, where the coin is struck on a blank mint for a different denomination such as a penny, nickel, or a foreign coin, resulting in a coin that may have an unusual color, weight, or size, and these are exceedingly rare but incredibly desirable, and even more common planchet flaws like laminations, where a portion of the metal flake peels or cracks due to impurities, can enhance a coin's value when they occur in interesting patterns or across major design elements, especially if they're coupled with other errors or high condition. And let's not forget about partial collar strikes, a type of error in which the coin is only partially held by the collar die, leading to a coin with one normal edge and one distorted or flattened edge, often resulting in a lopsided appearance and unusual edge reading that is immediately noticeable to collectors. And when such coins from 1987 are found in good condition with full visible dates and dramatic edge deformation, they become eye-catching additions to any era coin collection and easily reach the $50 valuation or more. And additional varieties include misaligned dies, where the obverse and reverse do not line up correctly, creating a tilting effect that is subtle but detectable, and when such misalignments are extreme enough to distort the coin's appearance or shift the design, collectors become very interested in acquiring such examples for their uniqueness and the story they tell about the mechanical challenges of coin production at the time. And all of these error types, from die breaks to off-center strikes, broad strikes to strike-throughs, doubled dies to wrong planchet strikes, contribute to the growing popularity of the 1987 D quarter among collectors who appreciate the combination of scarcity, imperfection, and the broader context of U.S. mint production during the 1980s, which was a period of intense demand and rapid change in minting technology. And this makes the 1987 D quarter a prime candidate for error hunters, roll searchers, and coin enthusiasts who enjoy sifting through pocket change or sealed rolls in hopes of discovering a flawed specimen that tells a story of production anomalies and the journey from mint to marketplace. And thanks to auction platforms, coin shows, online marketplaces, and grading services, collectors are now better equipped than ever to authenticate value.